In this video, I'm going to teach you how to go out and find real estate for 30 to 50% below market and how to profit from that without even owning the real estate. And this is for you if you are interested in either creating an additional income stream. Maybe you want to quit your job. Maybe you're thinking about starting a business and you're looking at all these different opportunities, and maybe in the back of your mind you had thought about real estate, but you thought about the fact that, hey, I need money for down payment. I need to save up the money and the capital. And then maybe after a while, then I can put a down payment on the property and then finally be able to own some real estate and be able to profit from it and collect maybe some rent and little by little build that up. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do that, that you can get started with real estate investing with absolutely no money for down payments, no capital required, and you can make a significant amount of money, and I'm talking about $5, $10, $15, $20,000 over the next 30 or 60 days without even owning the real estate. And that's what I'm here to explain to you here today. So let's start from the top. What is the opportunity? In this country, there are hundreds of thousands of property owners that have a property that they no longer want. It's in the state of disrepair. They've got bad tenants. They're in a situation now that they are just tired of this property. And now they are willing to entertain the possibility of selling that property at 30 to 50% below market value. Now, regardless of whatever the economic circumstances are, if you can buy a property at 30 to 50% below market value, that's an opportunity. And you're probably thinking, well, gee, if I could find those type of houses and if I had the money, then this would be tremendous because I know that I'd be able to start making some money and building my financial future using that, with those properties. And I'm here to tell you that those properties exist and you can take advantage of them a lot easier than you can think possible. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a strategy of easily locating these property owners in your local area. And then I'm going to share with you the strategy of how to take advantage of this opportunity without you owning any of these properties or taking possession of any of these properties, with a very easy and implementable strategy that you don't require any sort of business license and or any sort of experience, even in real estate or anything like that, or in business for that matter. So how do we find these properties? Well, right now, what we're going to do is just simply going to go out and look into our local neighborhoods that have the potential for these properties to exist. And right now I'm in the neighborhood where I'm going to show you specifically how we can go out and we can find these property owners that are needing our help in getting rid of their problem property. So the first step is we're just going to go ahead and drive through these streets. We're going to be looking for properties that when we look at one property and we compare it to the houses in that area, that property looks a lot worse than the others. So that means that there's something going on there. Now, keep in mind is that every neighborhood is relative. You might be living in a nice house and you might do this driving here and think that all the houses look bad, but that's just a neighborhood. All the houses look the same. So it is a relative eye. In other words, that you're looking at that particular property compared to all the other houses in that area, and how does that property compare to those? So I'm going to make a quick turn here and just going to go ahead and drive through the neighborhood here. And again, I'm just being very mindful of the fact that I want to be safe and I'm not going to be getting into any sort of accident. As you can see here, this is just your normal, typical neighborhood. So I just happened to drive by one that caught my eye. So I'm going to go ahead and loop back around, and then I'm going to slow down and show you exactly what I mean. So here we are coming up on the house. This is a corner house, and it's very clear that there's something going on there. If you look at the window, has a cardboard there. Now it could be that somebody is living there or the property is vacant, but here, that house here looks like it's in kind of abandoned, and there's junk all over the house. Oop, I hit my horn by mistake. Now I'm not going to stop at the house, but that certainly is one for me to consider. Now, one thing I didn't do is back up and get the address, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Now, you don't want to stop at these houses. You're going to just simply drive by, take the address down, and then move on from there, and that's it. Now, I found another great example. So I'm going to loop back around here and show you another great example so you can see what I mean. So here's one coming up that looks very interesting. And if I look at the house there, it looks like it's in not that great shape. There is paper on the windows. The grass is overgrown, and that's a good sign too as well when you compare that grass compared to the grass on the other houses where you see cars. And even though in this particular area they're not going to be pristine, but certainly the other one that I just showed you is one that has that doesn't look the part of a house that people are living in. Here is another one here, right there. That is one that looks a little bit worn down. There goes the house again. Do that include the 6640? I'm going to get the street address here. This is just for me to do the research. This is Northwest 26th Street, Sunrise. So there, in just a matter of a few minutes, I found 3 properties. And what you want to do is, let's say to start, is try to find at least 25 of these properties just to get yourself started. And again, these are properties that look like the grass is overgrown. Maybe they look like, hey, it doesn't look like as good as some of these other houses next door to it. It may give the appearance that it doesn't look like anybody's living there or hasn't lived there in a while. And so those are the things you want to look for. And now we're going to go ahead and go to step number 2. We're going to figure out who these property owners are. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a drive home and kind of walk you through step number 2. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into my home office and walk you through specifically what we're going to do next in order to take advantage of these opportunities, again, without actually owning any of these properties or putting up any down payments or deposits. Don't mind the office. It is a little bit messy here, but it's not going to stop us from what we need to do now. So the properties that I saw were in the Broward County area. So I'm here at the Broward County Property Appraisers site. And I'm going to do a search here, and I'm going to do a property search. Now I'm going to, for privacy reasons, I'm going to block out some of the information here as you're looking at this. But I'm going to just use an example of a property here, and it's going to bring up the property. And here is the property that I saw. This is an older photo, but it looks like it was purchased by a corporation. So it's from they're in Georgia, and now because of the fact that it was purchased as a corporation, then right now that we're looking for private individuals. We're looking for people that own their properties privately, not a corporation. They looks like they bought it. I don't know how much they bought it for, but it doesn't matter. Typically, a corporation isn't one that I would go ahead and go after. So let's go ahead and type in another one of the other properties here, and see what shows up. Now this one here is a property, even though this property is located in Broward County, Florida, the owner is somebody who lives in Miami. And so they're an absentee owner. An absentee owner is somebody who owns the property but doesn't live there. Also could be many times a landlord. And here the report shows me the assessment, shows me a variety of different things. What I'm looking for is specifically, hey, when did that property get purchased? So this property got purchased on February 20th, 2019. They purchased it for $80,000, which is certainly below market sale. And I can see here that, let's see here, actually, recent sales history. No, these are the recent sales history for the subdivision. So it's interesting because this gives you, so this might be somebody to reach out to. And they bought it and to see, hey, would you be interested in selling the property? Let's look at another one. Now, the only negative with that is that they purchased the property rather not that long ago. So typically we're looking for property owners that own the property for quite a bit of a long time. So let's look at another one. One of the other ones that we saw. This one here is a person that lives in New York. That's interesting. And let's see when they last purchased the property. Now they got it as a quitclaim deed in October of last year for $84,000. So it could be a real estate investor. However, they purchased it as an individual. And so this might be somebody that we might want to reach out to. It's not ideal. Ideally, what we would want to see, and I'll explain to you this. So I'll get into the criteria that really we're looking for. But in essence, that's what you would do. You would get these properties that you wrote down, and then at that point, then you would go and do the research in the public records department, gather the names and the addresses of the individuals and the phone and the information, so that way now we can go to that final and last step. All right, so let's say that you went out and you went driving and you picked up a list of 25 or 30 properties, and you did the research, and some of the properties were owned by corporations, so you eliminated those. A few properties were purchased recently, but you've got a list of properties that were purchased quite a bit ago, and the persons perhaps don't even live at the property. Or maybe they do show that they live at the property, but again, we saw the property, we saw that it needed work, and it was off from what the rest of the neighborhood was. So what do you do next? Well, you want to reach out to them. And how can you reach out to them? There's a variety of different ways to reach out to these individuals. Number one is to send them a letter. You can send them a letter, and the letter could just be, you tear out a piece of paper, a yellow pad of paper, and you just handwrite on that letter, I was driving around the area and I saw the property. I saw your property that you own at such and such. I'm looking for a property to buy, and I was wondering if you might be interested in selling it. Include your cell phone number and have them reach out to you. Another thing you can do is there are various services available that will allow you to find the phone number of the individual that is living there. So you can go out and you can do a search on the internet and be able to find out the phone number and the information, and then you could simply either call them or text message them. And again, the text message is just, hey, I'm interested in buying a property in the area. I noticed your house while I was driving around, wondering if you might be interested in selling it. And then at that point now you get into the final step, which is that you might be wondering, well, gee, Chico, I've drove around the neighborhoods and I found all these properties, and it looks like, yes, the person, reached out to me after I sent them the letter and says, hey, I'm interested in selling my property. Could you please, let's have a conversation about it. What do I do? Because I don't have any money. I don't have any money for down payments or capital. How am I going to take advantage of these deals? Well, that is through the concept of wholesaling, and that is how we do this business. We go out and we sell the agreement and the contracts to these properties instead of buying them. Now that next phase is a little bit too lengthy to cover in this video, but what I've done is I linked here to one of these videos here that will walk you through step by step how to do that specifically, and it's kind of like a continuation of this video. It's kind of like part 2, but it's a much more robust training. So what I want you to do is, again, somewhere around here is going to be a video. Go ahead and click on that video, and that'll take you to the next stage in terms of how is it that we can take advantage of these property owners that we have located that looks like they might need some help with their problem property.